and who created this huge dance movement called Sweat Your Prayers and 5 Rhythms. And I loved this guy. I'm like, this guy's amazing. But he wasn't that good at returning calls and whatever. But I tell you what, 3 years, I really tried to maintain a relationship. Now that kind of failed. I could reach out to him now, whatever. Eventually I gave up. But that kind of energy often pays off. Another guy, I went to a cuddle party, and the founder, one of the co-founders of the cuddle party was there. And I'm like, this guy seems amazing. I want to know him. So I tried. I reached out a number of times, and I offered. I said, I'd like to help. I think I can help what you're doing here. Ended up in his apartment talking. He's now one of my dearest friends. I love him so dearly, but I really went for that and tried. Now in the business setting, I do a similar thing. If I'm really drawn to someone, I just want to make it work. Now I'm not always successful, but I think Jack Canfield's a good example, the author of Chicken Soup, co-author of the Chicken Soup series, right? When I saw him speak, I was blown away. And I'm like, I want a piece of Jack. And I didn't know how to do it. So I just saw him walking down the corridor after he'd spoken, and I walked up and I just spoke to him. I said, I'm impressed by your success, and your books make me cry. And we got chatting a little bit, and then we ended up deciding to do some cross promotion because I had an email list at the time, and I said, I got 40,000 coaches. If I can help you, I'm happy to. He said, oh, we should do some stuff. Now that didn't really get me a relationship, but we had a business relationship. And then I think it was years later, I was in a hotel and I saw John Gray sitting by the fireplace, and he's the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I'm thinking, holy shit, I've been trying to get a book endorsement from him, never heard any response. And he's sitting right there. And I was so nervous and I didn't know what to say. I went back to my room feeling like a loser. And my girlfriend, the third time I said, I just walked away from John Gray, she said, put your clothes on, get back out there and go and talk to him. And so I did. And it was awkward, man. I had to go and stand there while he's talking to friends and wait for him to stop speaking and look up at me. But that led to us having lunch. That led to me being nominated to the Transformational Leadership Council, which Jack Canfield founded, which led to me eventually developing a relationship with Jack, which meant so much to me. So there's an example. I tend to reach out when it matters. Now, a lot of people say no, and I might keep on trying. And countless people have just not even responded. But then you get those few that do respond, and then that leads to another relationship, leads to another one. Now, I just know amazing people, and I'm so grateful for it. And I want every listener to start thinking like that. If you're interested in having an amazing network of people, then when you're drawn towards someone, like say with Daniel, you might listen to this show and you might be like, this Daniel's a pretty cool dude. You probably think that since you listen to the show. You could reach out to him, see what you could offer him. You listen to the show enough, you probably know what he's into. You'd be like, hey, I'd like to offer help with this, or could we talk about whatever? Try and find something that would be in it for the other person. Some people say no, but then other people who you expected would say no might actually say yes and just blow your mind.
I love it. So Mark Victor Hansen, have you ever met him? Jack Canfield?
I have. Yeah, he was at a conference. I'm like, I got to say hello to this dude. So I went up and, squeezed into a bunch of people and said hello to him, got some photos with the guy. What a fun dude, man.
So I interviewed him on one of my podcasts. We've become friends. He's out of Arizona, an amazing guy. Introduced me to some people.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the kind of guy you can meet and just go, whoa, this guy's fun. This guy's looking to have a good time. So we haven't had connection for years, but he's the kind of guy I'd go out of my way to help or hang out with. But yeah, that's a good example. So having a podcast, as you would know, is a great way to build relationships with people. In fact, I've been told by some hosts they're not interested in downloads. They don't do it for the downloads. They do it for the relationships that they get. And I've done 140 interviews in the last year and a half. I tell you what, I know a lot of people. Some of them I've gone hiking with, and they're now my friends out of this. So what you're doing is a great way to build relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do it for two main reasons. Downloads is good. Obviously, it adds more value, right, to everybody. My two big things are, number one, adding value to people that are looking for it, and number two is building relationships for the future. I own private schools, and we've had the nonprofit for over 10 years, and we've been impacting communities around the world. And I find that if I can be the best version of myself every day, and I can bring that to my team and my staff and my partners, more ideas and help them build themselves, the kids we have in our schools are it's just going to multiply. It's just going to grow, and we're going to be able to impact more lives. So it's more of a purpose driven side of it than it is on more like a success, but the success comes from we're pushing so much significance and purpose in the beginning. What do you find, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there were events, there were trainings, there were self-help, there were this. I don't find that there were as many coaches per se, like life coaches, like business coaches.
Right.
It's transformed where people, I believe, are starting to wake up, and they're starting to look at, how do I find the best human possible to add as much value as possible in my life so that I can grow my business. Like what you said about dating coaches. I think that's huge, because there's so many people out there, 9 billion or how many ever. And if you want to find somebody to date properly, like maybe how do you know yourself in the beginning? Like, how do you actually love yourself so you can love somebody else? And then how do you find somebody else that loves themselves so they can love you? And the commitment and vulnerability and authenticity, like I look at those traits versus, is their company huge, and are they, more driven on their business than they are on their human? So what's your thought on that? Like, how are we transforming as a generation from seeking to grow as humans, and where is it going to go in the future if you don't have a coach?
Well, I'm biased on that because I have a predisposition towards growth. That's been since I discovered that personal growth course, I have sat with teachers. I have done stuff that would curl your hair. I went, Byron Katie is a big teacher these days. She's, been on Oprah, and she talks about basically the worst thing that can happen to you is a thought. I've gone and I did a month. I spent 20 grand and went and spent a month with Katie, and I was in a church naked in front of people, because that was the exercise, to just be naked in front of people. And Katie this guru walks in the room, and I'm like, caught like a deer in the headlights. And she just goes, "Looking good, David." I said, "Feeling good, Katie." But that's my life, is I'm always looking to it, like polyamory, open relationships. I'm like, that's scary. Let's try it. So I tend to do things like that. When you and I had 5 minutes before this podcast, I went and stood bare feet in the snow. I'm weird, right? I'm always looking for what's different and how to get out there. So I'm biased. And when you ask me how we're changing, I've always been gravitating towards people who are looking for growth. And the people who become my clients are the ones that don't want just money. They want more money. Everyone wants more money. That's fine. We'll start there. But they come to me because I can help them with that and look at who they are as a human, as a partner, parent, leader, friend, and human. So I see growth everywhere I go. That's my world. If we talk about society, is society shifting? I think so. I think the fact that people like Eckhart Tolle from The Power of Now are becoming mainstream names, Tony Robbins, became such a massive name and pioneered so much. Marianne Williamson, the fact that she was actually a presidential candidate, the fact that we've had a black president and hopefully at some point soon we'll have a woman president. I think all of these things point to the fact that society is evolving. We have been for a long time. We have throwbacks and we go backwards as a society, but I think we're doing better and better. And I think it was Eckhart Tolle who said, I could have the name wrong, but someone said, we just need a tipping point. We need 10% of the population to become conscious at a certain level, and it'll be a tipping point for the rest. And I think the fact that Marianne Williamson even got so far points to the fact that we're doing better and better and better. Now we have throwbacks. I'm kind of nervous to make any political commentary, but to me, and I'm not a US citizen, right? I come as an observer from somewhere else, but I live here now. To me, the Democrats seem to be more progressive and more about sharing and being more inclusive. And what's the others? The Republicans seem to be more about this is our turf and we look after our own. That's what we want to do. And it's a bit, it seems more divisive. I think we're moving in the direction as a society, and I hope we are, of the more inclusive. And so, and if we don't do that, hey, God help us 100 years from now.
So it's interesting. Yeah, I like your perspective. I can see that. I've seen the other perspective. Like Republicans are more business friendly per se, like
right.
like business builders, small business owners, that sort of thing.
Which is good for us.
Which is obviously great for economics. It's great for communities. It's great for everybody, right? And I find that, like, for instance, they always talk about like business tax breaks. Well, if you give a business tax break, then the business is going to have more money for growth or hiring people. Or and so it's interesting on like the opportunity zones that have been put into place last 4 years on investments and communities that need growth in those communities. So it's interesting. And then I see on the other side, giving things away versus earning things. And I find that so many of our kids today, the kids in our schools expect to be given school. Right. What's crazy is I go to India or another country, it's third world. Like when I was in some parts of Peru or Mexico, or, that's super challenging, second world, third world areas, they are willing to earn everything and they want to earn it and they're resourceful. And our kids today have been given a cell phone at, 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, whatever, the brand new Nike shoes, the whatever it is. Like you could be drop dead poor in America and have brand new Nikes because they value the Nikes and the image and the brand more than they value their own life. From my perspective.
I think it's interesting what you said about business and entitlement. I realize I don't have a high value on making things easier for business. I don't really care. Maybe because I've done so well and I just figure I'll just work harder. I don't care. I'm gonna do well anyway. So I'm more interested. I have higher values on if people are hungry, let's help them out. If people have got really bad healthcare, let's help them out. If women aren't being treated as equal to men, or African Americans aren't being treated as equal to whites, let's help them out. I'm like that's my thing. Yeah. I'm not so much about entitlement, like you should all get stuff for free. And that might be the downside of that kind of thinking. Like in Australia, they give a lot of money out. It's called the dole, work assistance or whatever. If you don't have a job, we'll pay you. We'll give you money. But I like the concept that people will work for it. Like, yeah, go and be on a cleanup gang, picking up some paper and get some pay. I'm all for that. But look, Facebook's a good example because look at our entitlement when it comes to Facebook. Facebook is free and Facebook is life-changing. It has changed my life. It's changed a lot of people's lives. It's got us connected in ways we never have. I know there are downsides, but it's free. But Facebook starts messing with your free entitlements of what you're doing on Facebook and the venom of society that will go after Facebook for this thing that we're now entitled to.